Hi everyone and welcome to the Icehouse podcast. It's Bryar Stewart here, Community Manager, and today I am talking with Jodie Tipping, who's a fairly new coach to the Icehouse Network starting this year. And today's podcast is all about getting to know Jodie. So welcome Jodie.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. We like to start our podcast with some quick fire questions. So first things first, what is your coffee order?
Long black.
Nice.
Recently I've been having black tea. Because my cousin's imports tea from the UK, a 150-year-old tea company.
Wow.
And tea's really nice.
Good, mixing it up, I like that. Favourite place in the world?
New Zealand, of course, but a very close second would be Japan, where I've lived for a few years.
Wow, I didn't realise that. That's cool. When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
Pre-COVID, overseas, we did lots of travelling, my husband and I, and we'd often get on a push bike in Europe or in Asia. But since then, pretty much on the weekends, out and about, doing exercise, or we both like cooking as well.
Cool, like that. Awesome. Morning or night person?
Neither. I like my sleep. I don't like getting up, especially in winter.
Yeah. I like that. Once I asked someone and they said neither two, they said, probably 2 p.m.'s their prime, and it's, apart from that, it's downhill. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Favourite food?
Spicy food.
Spicy food.
I love spice. So, anything with chili in it is, usually what I like.
Cool. And first job ever?
The one I can remember the most was working as a waitress in a Japanese barbecue restaurant.
Cool.
When I was at university, when I was studying Japanese, so I got a chance to actually speak Japanese as well, so it was pretty cool.
Oh, cool. That works well then. Nice. And that flows nicely into our first question, which is, walk us through your career to date. How did you get into the line of work that you're in now?
Right. Okay. So I guess I've got an interesting background because I don't have a tech background. So it's quite unusual that I'm doing what I'm doing, I guess. But so started I spent my 7th form year in Japan on a Rotary Exchange scholarship.
Oh, wow.
Didn't have any ability to speak Japanese then, but I learned pretty fast. And then when I came back, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I went to the University of Waikato and I studied Japanese. So that was, I did a business degree and majoring in Japanese, and then when I left university I went to work for a company called Mount Cook. I think they were known as Mount Cook Airlines, but they were a pretty big tourism operator at that time, mainly down south. And my first job was in Queenstown, which was pretty neat after having left university. Yeah. And I worked as a Japanese tour guide.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I moved up to Auckland, and then I worked in the Auckland office as a Japanese tour consultant or something.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did that for, a year or so after varsity. And then I was accepted on the JET program, which is a program focused on English language teaching in Japan. So I went there and ended up working for a few years as an assistant language teacher, and then I went and worked directly for one of the councils up there as an international affairs coordinator. Yeah, so my role there was really interesting, and it was about helping translate for international guests and being involved in international events and stuff like that. So did that, lived there for 5 years, and then I got a little bit sick. I got a thyroid problem up there, so I ended up coming back.
Coming back here to Tauranga?
Yeah, came back to Tauranga, and I thought, what am I going to do? And then I went back to Waikato and did a postgrad, or I started a postgrad in international marketing. And whilst I was doing that, I ended up getting a job with NZT&E. Yep. And and then that became full-time. I worked there for 5 years as a client manager.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really neat. I got to work with really interesting organisations like Zespri and stuff who had very much an export focus. So I worked alongside them. And I kind of got to a point, I'd been there 5 years, and then it was either go down the path of being a trade commissioner, and that was something which I was quite interested in, or leave NZT and get some commercial experience, because I kind of felt like I was really lacking that. I'd never had my own business, run my own business, and yet I was working alongside pretty big organisations, and cool. And then, so what happened is my husband, who used to own a company called Design Mobile, it was quite a big export company focused on contemporary bedroom furniture, so they sold a lot overseas. They had worked with a local technology company who developed this multilingual content management system, and if you're going back 15-20 years, it was quite innovative at the time. Anyway, the company got into a bit of strife, so they approached my husband to say, will you invest in it, and he was like, his business was quite dependent on that software, so he wanted to support them, but also he didn't have the skills himself, or the time probably, and also it needed different management and so forth. So I went, okay, how hard could it be?
Go you.
So didn't know anything about tech, didn't know anything about running a business, led a one that wasn't doing as so well, but so anyway, I went in there, and it would be fair to say what we thought we were getting into and what we actually got into was quite different. So essentially we basically started from scratch.
Wow.
So for the first 2 or 3 years it was really, really hard. And it was during that time, like, I also hadn't had experience managing people, and whilst that started as a big team, and where we ended up was a very, very small team, but it was and then also things like cash flow, I didn't know anything about
crazy.
That, so
jump into the deep end, all right?
I did, but and then so the first 2 or 3 years was really hard, and then the global financial crisis hit. But it's funny, like, people talk a lot about it, and I tend to remember it was probably harder before it hit than when it hit. I guess our business had been quite hard, and if anything, we kind of saw some opportunities in that, and so we've survived that, and then here we are 16 years later. And my role now in the company, I'm sort of the main owner of Cucumber, but I've stepped aside over 12 months ago, and we've got a CEO on board, and things are going really well so far with him, and the rationale taking him on board is like where we want to go as a business. There's a lot of growth we want. I didn't have the skills, but also, I guess, to be honest, I probably didn't have the what's the word, not the passion, the energy, but it takes a lot to grow a business.
Amazing.
So so he's come on board, and it's really exciting. We're doing some cool stuff. So my role now in this business at Cucumber is not involved from an operations perspective, other than special projects, which at the moment I'm doing a lot around recruitment. Then I sit on the board, but in the meantime it's allowed me to spend a lot more time in a lot of the other businesses that we're doing. So my husband's been a property developer for a number of years, and got quite a lot of different projects and businesses on the go, mainly a lot of them in the Waikato or Eastern Bay of Plenty and so forth, around property, so working with him a bit, and then we've invested in quite a few businesses, so the roles I'm playing there is either on the board or just purely from an investment perspective and stuff like that.
Great.
And then out of that is also doing some consultancy work with individual businesses, right, with the Icehouse, but also by myself.
Awesome. That's great.
I
love listening to the journey of where you've got to now, and everyone's so different, and it's not always what you'd expect, and so that's kind of an example of that, which is really cool. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, but you are based in the Bay of Plenty, so a coach based there, which is awesome for us to see this region grow. It's really great. So out of all of that, what role taught you the most, and did you have any standout advice along the way?
Yeah, well, obviously the journey with Cucumber.
Yeah.
I probably learned as much as what to do as what not to do. But I mean, you kind of learn by doing. And I think I probably learned to trust as I've got older and more experience, but also to trust my gut more.
Great.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses look externally for advice and stuff, but they actually have a lot of the answers themselves. But it's they just have to
need the reassurance a little bit.
I think so. Yeah. And I guess for me, successful businesses are built on people, and that's so true about Cucumber. We're a people business, and so it's the team that comes to work every day, but it's also the clients that we work with. Awesome. And also to treat people with respect and be really transparent and honest, and even if it means having hard conversations, either with clients, with staff and that, I think being transparent and really honest and having good communication goes a long way.
Great. That's cool. Okay, side note, where did the name Cucumber come from? So my husband's the one to thank for that, and it's actually quite relevant to where we are today. So go back 15, 16 years, we're like, what are we going to call this thing? And so Dave and I, neither of us have a background in tech. And for us, it's not so much about the technology, it's actually what it can do. And the conversations that we have often are with non-technical people, so they need to understand the business value and so forth, and not necessarily the technology. I mean, the technology you'd hope is a given for what we do. So Cucumber came up if we wanted something memorable, fresh, and it's kind of like you can strip it back and peel the layers back, and that's kind of, I think, in a way, the business. So we have conversations with business people, and then you just strip the layers back and you understand more about their businesses, and the same for how tech is applied. Great. What motivates you to get up in the morning?
At the moment, F45.
Yes, good on you.
Get out of bed and get doing something. But I'm actually really enjoying having a little bit more space for myself. And no day's the same for me at the moment, and I love it. I'm meeting so many different people, I'm doing so many different things, so
cool. That's great answer. So moving towards sort of the Icehouse journey, when did you first hear about the Icehouse and start working with the Icehouse as a coach?
So I first heard about the Icehouse pretty much when I started Cucumber. So I went on a course, and it was Go Global or something like that.
321 Go Global? Awesome.
And I met people like Greg Jarvis from Blue Lab, who I'm still really good friends with today. And and then from that course, the local group, we set up a group called Ice Cubes, and every Friday there's a place that we meet, and we just connect and so forth.
And that's still going today, right?
It's still going,
That's amazing.
And you don't have to go every week, but what has been so good about that group throughout this whole journey or business journey is that you can have really honest conversations with people around this isn't working, but collectively around the table someone's got the answer, or they've been through. So and it's a really supportive network.
Great.
So I always liked the philosophy of what the Icehouse was doing, and the network and the support environment that they provided. So
cool. So how did the opportunity as a coach come about, to be a coach through the Icehouse?
So I've known Jamie for a while as well. So when he came into the role last year, I think.
He asked me
to go on the advisory board, so I did that, And I could see some of the good work that he was doing and the impact he was having. And then he said, and then he asked me if I'd be a coach. So here I am.
Awesome. I like to hear it. That's awesome. Cool. And so what makes working with the Icehouse appealing to you?
I guess it's the opportunities to work with or work alongside other business owners. And I'm talking to a lot of people whose businesses are quite different from mine, but they have similar issues, opportunities and so forth.
Yeah.
But what they probably need is just some more support and like a sounding board in a way. Yeah.
It's the community and the network, that's so important. And I hear that when I do podcasts with those that have been on our owner manager program or something, they think, no one here is going to understand my business challenge, but really when they talk to them, even though they're from different industries, they're going through the same struggles and challenges and wins and things. So bouncing off each other.
I went to the Icehouse conference a month or so back.
Yeah.
And I hardly knew anyone there, but I actually walked in and it was a really welcoming environment.
That's cool to hear.
Yeah. And the conversations you could have were quite rich and deep.
Yeah, that's it.
Connections you got,
Yeah, everyone sort of gets it, eh? It's nice. That's cool. Good to hear.
Yeah.
So what areas of expertise do you specialise in?
Yep. So I'd consider myself a generalist, and that's probably just being a owner of a small, medium-sized business. You actually have to be able to do everything.
Yeah, true.
The thing I haven't been able to do, and I don't really want to do it either, is cut code, which is fun. So I guess I'm more of a generalist. So rather than a specialist in a particular area. Other probably areas that I'm probably good at connecting things and people, but connecting the dots, so I can understand why if a business has a challenge, potentially what technology solution might help and put that together.
Great.
And so I think that's probably my
that's awesome. Cool. And what part of coaching do you enjoy the most?
I think I kind of said it earlier, the opportunity to actually work alongside other business owners and feel like I actually can contribute and give back to them. I've been helped a lot over the years, so it's nice to have now the opportunity to help others.
That's great. That's really cool. How can businesses stay relevant? A big question.
I've talked to your customers, and I don't think businesses talk to their customers enough. And they just assume customers will know what they're doing, know what they're thinking, but they also assume the other way around. Yeah, and I just think things are changing so fast at the moment, so it's really important to stay connected to your customers and so forth, but also your staff.
Keep on the pulse because things are changing really fast, especially in a post-COVID world, right? Things have got to speed up in terms of technology, ways of working, expectations, and all that sort of stuff. That's great advice. Speaking of advice, what piece of advice would you give a business owner of small, medium business in New Zealand right now?
Yeah, it's kind of like things are changing so fast. So it's really important to constantly keep moving and keep evaluating, but also it's okay to get it wrong as well, but talk to people. I think I've seen a lot of stress over the last 12 or 18 months by business owners and people, and a lot of people obviously with COVID have felt stress for one reason or other, but I think it's really important for business owners to actually look after themselves as well, and that's like taking time out, turning off the phone, really disconnecting, and setting boundaries with people around what you can and can't do, and you can handle that in nice ways as well, but just so looking after yourself, it's really important.
That's great. What excites you most about the future of New Zealand business?
There's so many opportunities I think we have in New Zealand. Cucumber's focusing a lot on working with primary industry organisations. And there's some huge challenges that businesses we work with have. Technology can solve part of it, but not all of it. But I think New Zealand's in a really a special position to actually leverage our uniqueness, whether that's environment, sustainability, but also, just what we do. We're quite well regarded internationally and so forth. Yeah,
that's the point. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mentioned you are based in the Bay of Plenty.
Yeah.
What is your favourite thing about the Bay of Plenty?
Favourite thing? I actually live in Mount Maunganui, and our office is over in Tauranga, so it's really nice. End of the day, you feel like you're going home.
Yeah. Beautiful spot.
I think, we live in a lovely, location, but it's also really central. So you could be at Rotorua, you could be in Hamilton, Auckland, and just fly down to Wellington or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think our location is actually good, and I guess lifestyle. There's but having said that, it's not all about lifestyle. I think there's a good balance here now. There's lots of growing businesses.
Yes.
Economically, the region's doing really well.
Yeah, totally. I think it's definitely becoming a hub for great businesses and entrepreneurs. It's really awesome. Yeah, and finishing on a fun note, what is an interesting fact about you?
It's an interesting fact about me. I was just thinking about this. I'm pretty obsessed by chilies.
You're pretty obsessed with chilies.
Chilies, yeah. So I grow chilies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I grow chilies.
You are into your spicy food.
And then I cook. I love making chili chutney and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously eating it. But for me, that's my real happy space.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally disconnects me from everything else going on, and I really love focusing on it. So
Nice. I like that. That's a great interesting fact to finish on.
Yeah.
But thank you, Jodie. I do feel like I know you better now. I'm sure the listeners do as well. So thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you.